Well, welcome back to the Grey Lounge. If you've just joined the series, and I think that we're at 31. Andy and I, we're calling this Unplugged.
Now, first of all, where have you been? That's a
very good question, Andy.
Very good question.
All episodes are available on YouTube. We are in a position like the rest of the world whereby we're waiting for our live sport, and whilst we do that, we've been joined by a series of top-end guests, no more so than today. It was yesterday that Andy was saying there's too much gloom. Well, when you've spent half an hour with our guest, and we'll introduce you in just a moment, today you will feel a whole lot better, trust me. Before that, one or two cuttings from the newspapers, Andrew, as ever. This from the Mail. Appy Clappy fans, this is. Now, I checked the date again today. It's not April the 1st. The Premier League clubs apparently are about to offer an app to fans which would send virtual cheers and jeers to their homes from stadiums in under a second in an attempt to generate an atmosphere for matches behind closed doors. I mean, are you serious?
What's wrong with that?
Well, what a waste of time.
What's wrong with that? If you're sitting at home and you don't have the crowd there and you're watching the game, why can't you enhance it by adding crowd noise?
Oh, the app gives clubs the option of using different sound levels for home and away supporters, which could reduce some of the objections to the Premier League campaign being concluded in neutral venues.
There you go.
It won't, trust me. Now, this is interesting. I want to come back to this tomorrow when we've got more time just between the two of us. Patrice Evra has been talking and was given, prior to Fergie's retirement, a guarantee. And this, where it's interesting is, if you listen to our radio programme a number of years ago, the late David Meek, Manchester United reporter, legendary character in that part of the world, happened to suggest to Andy and I he didn't think that Sir Alex had retired of his own volition, that maybe he'd been edged. And Fergie, when he heard that, was furious. But he had apparently said to Patrice Evra, "I will never retire. I will be here for another 10 years. His target that close season were Bale and Ronaldo, and 2 weeks later, Fergie had gone. Now, that is something that we will discuss at length tomorrow with a little bit of background knowledge that you and I have. Roy Hodgson, 72, like Andy and myself, at the high end of the risk category, but can't wait to go back to work. And the Palace chairman, Steve Parish, has said, we will take extra care of him.
We won't be allowed.
Oh, no, he will.
Why?
Special circumstances.
Okay. Yeah. Let me tell you, if I was 70, I'd be going back to work as well. I'm not having sitting at home.
Rick Parry has told, the chairman of the EFL has told the Premier League, we will sue you if you don't relegate clubs. No, Rick, you won't.
Why won't he?
Because there's too much money riding on it, Andy.
Well, this year there's not enough.
Well, the Premier League would just cut off what already goes down the pyramid and say, OK, take us to court. We'll see you there in 10 years.
So,
no, you won't.
Empty threat?
I think empty threat. That's my view. From Scotland, Neil Doncaster saying we have to get restarted. Our game is in grave peril. Well, I think we know that. But here's the more interesting aspect of today's negativity. Clubs are going to test for respiratory and cardiac flaws before allowing players back to training. And the Premier League Doctors Association have raised serious concerns over a restart because they believe it's not safe.
Well, there you go. You pays your money and you buys what you want to read.
Our guest today is the Sheffield United manager, Chris Wilder, who I can see smiling.
He is.
Maybe he's a little bemused at what I've just said. Chris, are you good to go?
I'm good to go, yeah. Morning, everybody.
Morning, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
How frustrating a time has it been?
Yeah, it's from a personal point of view, want to go back to work, knowing what the players are like, especially my players, and speaking to a few of the managers. As I should imagine, you'll have the same opinion. They all want to go back to work and get going. Obviously, you know, the key thing everybody's been talking about is when it's safe and ready to do so. But we're all after good news.
Are you optimistic, Chris? Are you optimistic?
Apprentice footballer from 16, and it's unprecedented times, but you know, hopefully, you know, I read an article on the Bundesliga, which obviously we're taking I think obviously the Premier League are looking to see what's happening over there. There's some good news come out of that country over the last 24 hours, and hopefully we can all get back to work and resume a little bit of normality.
Are you optimistic, Chris, that can happen? I mean, we're hearing lots of stuff, but do you think there's a point where we have to make a definitive decision? We either go or we scrap the season and build for next?
No, I think we finish the season. I think however long it takes.
Right.
I'm a big believer that you can reschedule next year. This season has to be finished. You read a lot, obviously, while you're in the game, and you've got your finger on the pulse. I think Steve Parish has made some brilliant comments recently. I don't think people understand what will happen if we do null and void the season. From my point of view, as I said, personal point of view, speaking to our chief exec and speaking to our club doctor, the club doctor has been involved in Premier League talks. He's on the committee. He's never once come to me and said, listen, this is in real grave danger of us ending the season. They're confident. The Premier League has shown an enormous enthusiasm. My chief exec is, and not just because we're in the position of where we are. I think everybody that is in the know understands the implications if this season was scrapped from a financial point of view, of course, and from a social and a moral point of view as well.
Do you understand and accept that there will be caution, that certain players are voicing concerns, and you have to accept that, yes, and understand them?
Yeah, the LMA have been a fabulous organisation for the managers, and right the way through my career as a young manager breaking into the Football League, they've always been there, so they won't put us at risk. The PFA, even though they've come under some criticism, I'm sure won't put their players at risk. So there's still the process to go through with those two organisations, but I'm certain that both those organisations will give us the right information and advice to restart. I think there's going to be compromises through it because of the situation how it is with from a medical point of view, but putting plans in process, putting plans in place to kickstart, restart for me is 100% the correct decision.
What if you've got just one player, Chris, who says, I'm scared and I don't want to do this, but the rest are with you and want to continue?
Yeah, that's it. It is his personal decision. The majority of players have got their own minds. Of course, some haven't. Some, as you can imagine, are directed and dictated by somebody else who looks after their career. That's certainly not been the case for me. I'm sure it hasn't been for you two guys, especially Andy, who played. He was always master of his own career.
Yes.
And what he wanted to do. But the working class boys, we are quite intelligent and quite bright, even though we get sort of a picture of not being. We've got our own minds, but if any individual player took that decision and came to me and said it's not for me, I'd respect that. As far as I'm concerned, speaking to the players, speaking to the captain of the football club, and as I said, keep saying, not just because of the position we're in. And I do think as well, I think that one of the slight disappointing things is that, I think people have took a line on their position in the division, which I think is a little bit disappointing. I think we've got to look at a bigger picture. Mm-hmm. I've obviously had an experience of working in all levels of football, and I do understand the implications if the Premier League didn't restart and what effect that would have down the pyramid as well. So I think we've got to look after all aspects of football. But yes, certainly, if any player comes to me and said it's not for me, I'd respect that, and we move on.
What are the fitness levels like right now, Chris? We've been 6-7 weeks now since we stopped playing. What are the fitness levels of the lads like at the moment?
Right, 100%. We're dialing into the players every day. A little bit difficult from their point of view, from a psychological point of view, as we talked about. They've been, players want to get back playing and working. My players do. They're in great nick. Obviously, from a ball work point of view and working in small groups, we've not restarted that, and we've not restarted going forward off the numbers off that. But by all accounts, they're not sticking the heart rate monitor around the dog and taking that for a run, as you used to do in the old days. Somebody to do the work. They're all working their nuts off, and and waiting for that opportunity to get back playing.
Look, I think a last one, and then we'd love to take this opportunity just to talk about football.
Yeah.
But the legalities of the loan of the goalkeeper. His loan period expires June 30. Now, you and Manchester United are nip and tuck. Andy will say Wolves as well, and he's probably right. But you and Manchester United are nip and tuck for a Champions League place. Are you going to be able to hang on to him?
Have you just said something there about a Champions League place?
Yes.
I think we've just got enough points to stay in the Premier League, and I think we've just got over that mark. Competing with Manchester United, Sheffield United. Rich, are you sure?
I know, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Listen, that's how well you've done.
But it's happening. So can you, if United, do you think United would recall the goalkeeper, or would it be morally correct to leave him with you now?
I personally will think it'd be morally correct to leave him playing for Sheffield United for the last 10 games of the season. Mm-hmm. But listen, we all know that because of the legalities and the situation regarding expiry of loans, that they might take that decision. But like I said, we're not a threat to Man U, so I'm sure that they'll be quite happy with the players that they've got and the players that they've got that will see them through the season.
But you are a threat to Manchester United.
You're definitely a threat.
I can understand
look
you
at his little
that.
smile there. Look at him there chuckling away.
You know full well you are. That's why you need to complete the season.
The Ford Fiesta ain't going to get past the Ferrari, Rich.
Remember the tortoise and the hare, Chris. Remember it.
Right, let's talk football. Where did you come up with this innovative plan to have overlapping centre-backs?
Well, I was in I went to an LMA, it was an induction of Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola into the Hall of Fame, and I was sat on a table with Howard Wilkinson, and I think you know what Howard's like, and he's saying, "Will you shut up about this 3 at the back and 5 at the back and telling everybody where it come from and how it works? Keep it to yourself, young man." So no, it worked in. It came about in League One. A lot of teams sat in. We wanted to be a possession based, dominating possession in League One. I always think there's always different ways to win a game of football and be effective in the way that you want to do, and the result. Performance is obviously key, and we all want to play well as many times as we possibly can, but results, obviously, especially for Sheffield United getting out of that division, were enormous. And teams were sat in, second part of the season even more so, sat in on the edge of the box. We wanted to create overloads out wide. Our 2 end centre-backs, all the back three were comfortable in possession, and off they went. Jack O'Connell's played left-back for us, and he's played left-back in his career. Basham's played everywhere on the park. He was comfortable, and it we've tweaked it from over the last 2 or 3 years. We obviously didn't want to change it going into the Championship, and it worked for 2 years in there, and we wanted to see how it went in the Premier League. Not so much overlapping from Basham and O'Connell when you're at Anfield in January when you're getting done 2-0, and it used to be about 6. I didn't see them overlapping then, but listen, it's worked in times. We're in a completely different level, obviously, in the Premier League, so we don't get as much possession. We have to be aware of counter-attacks. We have to be aware of unbelievable threats that the opposition teams have in their ranks, especially at the top of the pitch. So a little bit more cautious, I would say, this season, but it works for us, and we'll keep going with it.
But does it frustrate you, Chris? Because had Guardiola, you mentioned him, had Pep Guardiola come up with this, he would have been talked of as well. He is anyway. But modern day football genius, Brit Chris Wilder, comes up with something different, and it's almost a little bit like you downplayed your chances of going into Europe. Well, that's okay, but it probably won't last. But it hasn't it? And there's no reason why Brits can't mix it with the top continental boys, is there?
I don't believe so. I think there's an enormous amount of quality coaches and managers in the Football League. There's obviously some that don't work out, but there's a lot of foreign managers that come into the Premier League and don't cut it. So, of course, I'm going to be an advocate of British managers and British coaches because of the ones that we've come up against. Some unbelievable battles tactically that we've had in the Championship and even in League One. Some great up and coming young managers that unfortunately never get the opportunity. I've always said, I always believe that my likes of myself and Sean and even Eddie have to take a team into the Premier League to get a job in the Premier League, and I think that's just being realistic and honest and open. And then you have to prove yourself in this division, and my players are proving themselves, and I think myself and my staff are trying to establish ourselves as Premier League managers and coaches, and difficult job to get into this position. And even more so now to keep going and maintaining that.
But another reason that I was thinking you're there as well, what I've noticed, hasn't gone unnoticed. I mean, you mentioned a couple of the managers there. Frank Lampard, for instance, at Chelsea, great to see that, top of the team. You yourself, top six. Brendan Rodgers, the Irish lad, in the top six. I think that's fantastic for British coaches and Irish coaches. But it hasn't gone unnoticed that your group, your squad, whatever you want to call it, has been based pretty much on a British and Irish mentality over the last 3 or 4 years, Chris. Was that a conscious thing you did, or did it just happen?
No, a conscious decision, obviously, in League One, because that was our market, and I won't mention certain places where you have to go on a cold Tuesday night to get a result. And I'm not saying that foreign players would not get that result, but I trusted the players. Nuno trusted the Portuguese players. You look at that, and Pep has players from all over the world, and David Wagner had a lot of German players. So it's players that we knew, obviously, in League One that got us out. Financially, we've not come and smashed it in the Championship. We're not in that position to do so, so we had to be cute and smart with our recruitment. We felt there was some players that could go on the journey with us. And obviously, you never know, stepping into the Premier League, how good they can be unless they give the opportunity. And we believe that they deserve the opportunity. I've got to say though, if we'd have lost the first 4 or 5 games, would we have changed it? Of course we would have, or tried to change it. But we've tried to go through the windows and improve, which we believe we've done in a sensible manner. And now we've never been, the door's never been closed for us to sign foreign players. And now obviously from the last window we signed Zander Berg from Genk, and a Norwegian international we've watched, a young player, 21 years of age, who we feel will have a tremendous future for us. And a couple of other boys that we've signed, boy from a Greek international, from Germany, and a boy from China, a Dutch under-21 international. So we are opening up now. And I think the exposure that we've got, and obviously the performances and league position we've got, we're now a more attractive proposition for foreign players to come to Sheffield. But originally, to get out of League One after 6 years was key, and I needed players that I could trust and I knew what we're about. And I still do now, really. We just obviously just opening our net a little bit more.
There was some speculation you were going to bring Phil Jagielka back, but that didn't happen, did it? He was with us a couple of weeks ago, Chris, and I made out I'd not noticed it. He hadn't been playing so many games.
We've got one of the best defensive records in the division, and he's still every Monday morning knocking on my door. Why am I not playing? Why am I not playing? And that for me is the group. He's
a great lad.
In a nutshell, really, what they're about.
Let me ask you this as well, Chris, because Richard and I argue about this all the time. European football, I'm not going ahead of you here, I'm not getting ahead of ourselves, but should European football arrive at your door, Sheffield United's door, in the shape of Europa League, whatever you want to, let's say, we won't commit you to Champions League just yet. Let's say the one less than that. You're going to have to play Thursday night football, then the weekend. You want that, or are you anti it? Richard's always said a small club like Sheffield, Burnley, shouldn't take European football.
100% want it. Absolutely.
Good.
Experience for the club, experience for the players. And you never know where it takes you. Nobody knew that we would be in this position, and I'm not saying we're going to repeat this next year. No. We look to to establish ourselves as a Premier League club. We want the fixtures of Liverpool, Man City, Manchester United, Arsenal, all those brilliant clubs, Chelsea, year in, year out. We know that's our bread and butter, but we'll give it a go. We've got a 25-man squad. If we get knocked out in the first two rounds, we get knocked out in the first 2 rounds. If we go further in the competition, we go further in the competition. I think there obviously will have to be a little bit more rotation and a little bit more, looking at other players in the squad to play those particular games. But we'll use it as pre-season games as well. I've gone on record and talking about Wolverhampton Wanderers, and Wolves are a great example in terms of the way they play. I think Nuno's a fantastic manager. Financially, they're at a completely different level to us, but they've give it a go, and we will definitely give it a go. And if we do manage to, get European football for this club, it'll be an absolute huge achievement in an historic football club. What is Sheffield United?
Does it genuinely, Chris, mean more to you? Locally born, played for the club twice, managing your hometown team, the one you grew up supporting. Does it mean a little bit more because it is Sheffield United?
I think there's always going to be that, yeah, Rich. But I've got to say, I'd give everything to every club I've managed, and took every defeat and every goal that's gone against me personally, and every goal that we've scored and every win as if it's New Year's Eve. And that I've always had that same attitude. I'm not so sure when I lost 3 out of the first 4 games, it was a good idea to come back, thinking, house is up for sale, family's going to have to move out, we're gone. This hasn't worked out well, but managed to turn it round. I think the bottom line is, though, you've got to win football matches, regardless if I live half a mile from the ground. I was a ball boy supporter, and all my pals are Sheffield United fans, or I come from Portugal or Spain. We have to produce results and win games of football, and I don't think that'll ever change.
By the way, I can see the dog wandering around in the background. What's the dog called?
Oh dear me, Margot. Margot, yeah.
Did you say Margot?
Is she a Sheffield United fan?
Yeah, I think so. Favourite player, Billy Sharp. Yeah, she I think she's got a picture of Billy in a kennel. So yeah, she loves Bill.
Listen, Chris, I wanted to ask you. I've asked quite a few guys I've talked to that have coached up and down the league or have coached different levels. What's given you most satisfaction? Let me ask you. Winning the League One with Northampton, I think, with 99 points?
Over 100.
Over 100 points?
Yeah.
Winning that league the way you did, or doing what you've achieved this year at a higher level? What's been more satisfying, do you think?
I think you just live in the moment, though. I think you just look for the next win. I've not really thought about what happened last year. I mean, it gets reminded, obviously. I mean, I was involved 30 years ago when Sheffield United went up to the old First Division, and it's been plastered, obviously, social media. 30 years ago to this day, this is what happened. Obviously, last year we finished our season at Stoke. I just think as a football manager, it's really dangerous to get out of the present. I think you will reflect and look back. They've all given me, getting Halifax to the playoff final in terms of what the situation was there, getting Oxford out of the conference when I've got the late great Jim Smith, fellow Sheffielder, on my shoulder saying, "Son, if we don't win today, we're history." So that was, you can imagine with a cigar in his mouth and a glass of red wine in his hands. Right the way through to the Northampton one when we had financial difficulties, to obviously, the one that, winning for Sheffield United obviously will be right up there. I think looking back, that'll be the time too, but I think you just want to keep going, and we want more experiences, we want more memories, and looking forward to that. And that is obviously a slight disappointment, is that the experiences that I would have loved to have shared with the supporters in the last 10 games of the season will most likely be taken away. Going to Old Trafford, going to Newcastle, playing Everton, Spurs and Chelsea at home, and all those clubs, little experiences that we'd have loved to be part of, taken away. But we understand that, and if that's the case, those experiences get taken away for the good of getting back, playing, and getting everybody safe. Then it's a small price to play.
Listen, last one, Chris. Our gaffer's a Sheffield Wednesday fan.
Yes.
Would you just tell him what is it like to be the powerhouse in Sheffield right now?
I get absolutely slaughtered because people tell me I managed to get into every conversation about how well Sheffield United are doing and how bad Sheffield Wednesday are doing. I think that is just
Good.
what happened.
You carry on, that's no problem.
Andy will know, obviously, from the Liverpool-Everton sort of situation, and I'm not saying Sheffield is a Liverpool-Everton sort of rivalry. I mean, historically, both of those clubs are bigger than our two, but this is what we feel about in Sheffield, and it's our time and it's our turn, and they can't be greedy. They've had it over us.
Yes. Well said, son. You're right.
Yeah, and I'm loving seeing more Sheffield United shirts in the city, and that's part and parcel of living in this football mad city.
But Sheffield United are the only club in the city, aren't they?
They are the only club in the actual city of Sheffield.
Oh,
yes.
they are. So
Wednesday
Sheffield
playing Owlerton.
Owlerton.
Yes.
So that's not really in Sheffield
Not really.
City.
No, it's on.
Okay.
I think it's in South Barnsley, somebody told me.
Yes.
Chris, thank you for taking time out to talk to us.
Thanks, Chris. Top
we
class.
hope you're right. Let's get busy again as soon as we can. Thank you. Good luck to you. Keep it going.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care.
Thanks.
Great stuff.
Brilliant.
That's Chris Wilder and Margot live from Sheffield this morning. What a good man. I told you you'd feel better after talking to Chris.
Well, no, it's nice to hear some positivity
Yes.
around. You know, I know people are dying, Richard. I know you can't just dismiss that. Nobody is trying to. But when you're locked up the way we are and the way everybody is, and all you're hearing is bad news, sometimes it is nice to get a face and a voice like Chris's and optimism around.
And interesting also to hear that his club doctor is on the committee of the Premier League doctors, and he has not reported back anything to the contrary yet.
As I said, I've said to you, I think, and I've said from day one, that they're going for it. They're going to go and try and do it until somebody from a higher power, like the French government did in France. Oh, that's what I meant to ask you. How can the French government say no sport in France till September and allow horse racing next week or next month?
I have no answer. I'd like to know.
I'd like to know.
We will be back tomorrow at this very same time on beIN Sports, wherever in the world you've joined us from. We're grateful for your company. Our international viewers will find us on YouTube every day at the same time. Tomorrow, up for discussion between Andy and myself, was Fergie pushed?
Oh, or did he go voluntarily?
We'll see you tomorrow. Stay
Stay
safe.
safe.